meeting to order.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to our regular board meeting, May 20th at 6 o'clock. At this time, I'd like to welcome everyone, and we would like to start out by calling the meeting to order and having our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to remind everyone that there's a sign-in sheet if you would like to do that. At this time, Mr. Saylor, do we have any revisions to our agenda?
No, there are no revisions.
Okay. At this time, I would like to ask that we, as a district and as a Board of Education, have a moment of silence. I think our community has really been through a lot over the past few weeks, and we lost not only a wonderful friend, but a wonderful teacher, coach, father, son, husband. And so Mr. Blake Crow, I would like to take a moment and just pause and remember him and remember what he meant to this school and to this community. Mr. Saylor, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think, Ms. Isford, you said all that needed to be said. Blake will be sorely missed, but, his memories will carry on with us. And it was good to see our baseball team get back to playing this week, and with his dad, with Brian, taking over the helm of the team and moving forward. It's good to see us be able to move forward, and let's play for the rest of the season in Blake's memory.
So at this time, I would like to ask for everyone to continue to keep this family and our school in your prayers, and we would like to have a moment of silence to honor his memory. I'd like to thank everyone.
It's okay.
At this time, I'd like to move along with our facility and construction update.
Jeremy, I think that we just completed a walkthrough of the ATC site with our board. A lot of progress has taken place since our last visit, I believe back in March or February, I think it was. We're getting closer and closer. We're a little bit over a month away from substantial completion. Anything you can think of you'd like to update on before we go on to our pay app after our visit? Anybody got any questions?
No, I think we had a great walkthrough today. You all can really see the progress that we're making. Substantial completion is still 621 right now, and final completion is on the board for 721. We have no problem, as far as we can see, meeting those dates right now and have an open ceremony for Mr. Saylor and all his constituents on July 23rd. If you have any questions about the ATC, I'll take those, but just know that we're making great progress, and we are looking to target those dates.
If y'all don't have any questions, we'll let Ms. Isford move on with the pay app.
I think it's looking really, really fantastic.
Thank you.
And we appreciate all your hard work and on time and under budget. We have a pay app for approval, pay app number 20 associated with DPOs.
Yes, this is reflective of the work that's taken place since our last board meeting. And it's been reviewed not only by our architect, but by Codell. And the pay app is in the amount of $871,554.66. It's my recommendation that we pay that out.
Do we have a motion? Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. So Tammy Hardy and Carrie Smallwood. Do we have any discussion? I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next on our agenda, we have approval of change order 13-4.
Well, and there's a whole group of change orders there. As you know, we've got individual contracts with a lot of different companies. I'm getting signed back on because I cut Sheila off. I hope, Sheila, you can hear me now.
I can. Yes.
I may do that 2 more times during this meeting. Jeremy, if you could pull that first sheet up. The first group of pay apps there at the top was the removal of the parking lot alternative that was in front of the building. That was about $110,000, I think, alternate that was approved by you guys when this project was first bid. As we got into this and we saw that there was a main gas line with Columbia Gas that is right underneath that area, and it is too shallow in order for us to install that parking lot. So of course, the board of course is due a refund of that project, or a refund of that cost estimate back to the project. And that is what that change order is there for. And you can see, I don't have it pulled up in front of me exactly where I can see it, but you can see that Stanford Builders is refunding $51,000 of the project. Move on up, Jeremy. Then you've got Rising Sun is refunding $38,590 of the project. And then of course Conley Painting was responsible for the striping of that parking lot, and they're refunding $850. So that first 3 change orders has to do with the board receiving a credit for those items. As you can see, it's somewhere, you got the exact total, Peter, all those together, it's about 58.
92?
Yeah.
90.
It's just over 90, 90 and some change.
90,000 and some change, so.
We won't get the full credit back because of the overhead profit that the contractors have to keep. They're entitled to. So.
Which is part of the contract that they're entitled to. So it's still a $91,000 deductive change order from the project that will go back into contingency. And it's paying for some of the other change orders that we needed to make in the project. So my recommendation is to approve this first set of change orders for the parking lot alternate.
So do we have an approval for change order 13-4?
I'll make the motion.
I make the motion.
Sheila, the second.
Okay. Carrie made a motion and Miss Sheila seconded the motion. Is that right?
That'll work.
Yes.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. I don't know if can Sheila vote? Can she?
She did say aye.
Okay.
We've got her recorded as saying aye. Jeremy, is that good?
Think of it, as long as everybody is in unison, that was her voice, then as long as you all.
She can't talk.
Is that
She's
legal for
driving.
them?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the only thing.
Yes, you're recorded.
I tell you what, when we need to vote, let me bring her up on video, that way we have a visual of her. And Sheila, if you could just re-vote on that again, that way we can see you visually.
Just raise your hand. There it is. Yes, vote.
Yes, vote. Okay, motion carries.
Just when you do that, if I don't have her up on screen, remind me and I'll switch her.
Okay, we're moving on to the ATC Furniture update.
There's 2 other change orders. We need to take those. Okay, I don't even see the furniture up there.
Well, I'm going by the agenda that's here.
That's not like it last month.
I think you may actually be in last month's meeting.
Let's see.
I got furniture update too.
You got furniture update? Hold on.
My top corner still says April 15th.
There's
So
two
mine is
different
too.
meetings,
Maybe I am
and
in
three
the-
different meetings, and it's the middle one. Which is okay, I can give you a furniture update, it's ordered and on the way.
That's what I do.
What is that? It's a,
Yeah, here's the 520. We were, I think.
You have
we
it
were in
too?
the 450.
You
Yeah,
have
I got
the
it
same
too.
one?
Yeah.
It's an, there we go.
Okay, I'm on the right one now.
520,
520, the template.
That's what I was.
That's it? So we're here.
Are you getting
Okay.
anything with the template though? Is it pulling stuff
Yeah, the
up?
template.
It's all right, I mean,
Okay.
it's,
They're on the April 15th. You gotta go back
I clicked on it.
and then go back here now. We're gonna school. I'm just trying to get back to
you need to pull out your recording of my last rant about technology, Jeremy.
Boss, I said, that's why you hired me, so you didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
All right, so right there it is. It's a 520. For some reason, Rebecca, it says 6 p.m. template on KSBA. I don't know why.
Yeah, she's trying to work.
Did you get it on there too, Carrie?
Yes, I finally went back
Yes,
to
sir.
it.
Okay, so I guess we're
There's
down
the
to,
next group of change orders, which is involving the, I believe this one is the classroom change, is it not, Jeremy?
For PR 26.
Yeah, I think that's PR 26, that's the 2 additional windows in the door that we talked about today.
Yep. For the vending area.
For the vending area, and we've got Rising Sun Development, their portion is 10-3. Carmichael Masonry is $4,020, and Bennett's Carpets is $4,365 for that change order. And that also involves some drywall that's within the building that had to be taken care of that was on the pedway.
Yeah, so Bennett's is the drywall, so we did the 2-foot soffit all the way down. And then we had to add the entry level 100, we had to further that out because you had the, I guess what would you call it, the indentions in the concrete that were pretty ugly, and we covered that up to make it look pretty.
And the last part of this other change order, we'll just take 2 of these. One of them was the deductive change order. This one is the actual change order to the project. It's also one other change order in there that belongs to Babcon Electrical, which is for the hand dryers, which was a change in how those hand dryers needed to be operational. So altogether, those change orders total right about $36,000, I think. So those were all items that needed to be corrected and fixed. As we said out there during our visit a minute ago, we want to make it right. We want it to be right from day one. So that's that group of change orders, which of course is an additional cost to the board, but those 3 items really cover it. It's the additional drywall, the additional windows and doors for the break area, and the electrical for the hand dryers. So my recommendation is that we approve those change orders.
okay. Do we have a vote? Motion? Carrie? All in favor? Okay. We're down to the bus garage update.
Okay, and right before we jump to that, let me go ahead and tell you, there's just a couple other change orders that will be coming. Most of them are caught up. One of them has to do with the parking lot and the sidewalk that's out in front of the building. We decided that we did not want to leave an old parking lot with all new construction around it, or an old sidewalk with all new construction around it. So we went ahead and had it replaced. And then as we just discovered, there's going to be, of course, a PR coming for the entrance into the area for the diesel mechanic, or the diesel mechanic program, so that we can get straight line vehicles into there.
We'll also be getting a credit back for some concrete that we had to delete from the project, so that's PR.7.
So there's a few other change orders, but right now, most items are done and they're through, so you shouldn't be expecting a lot more change orders. You're probably looking at both of those change orders being somewhere, it'll round out somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000, somewhere in there, give or take a little bit. I think the walkway was about $10,000.
And Michael might be able to get less because he's working on getting the rebar out of it.
Correct. So there may be, it's going to be less than $30,000, and we should be completing that project. So just wanted to give you all that real quick update on that. And now, Ms. Donna, you can move on.
An update on the bus garage?
Sure, I'll be happy to jump in. So there is no pay app on the agenda tonight for the bus garage. We are anticipating a final pay app and closeout next month at your June meeting. We did have a good meeting last week with the contractor there. Michael Mays was on site this morning performing the back punch of the site, which is a big part of what we're sort of trying to get finished up. And so there are a few outstanding issues, but I think next week there's the final owner training is going to take place, so next Tuesday morning. And we anticipate having the BG4 ready for you guys next month. So the contractor will be out working on site items for sure, and there are 2 or 3 issues inside the building that are getting addressed right now, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about it.
We have an on-site meeting Tuesday, correct?
We do, yeah, there's the gate operation guy is going to provide owner training, and we're going to meet there and make sure that we're touching base on all of the outstanding issues as we head into early June and the deadlines for getting board agenda items to you guys.
In our meeting last week, I made it very clear to the contractor that we want a BG4 on this project at the June meeting. It's gone on long enough, and we need to get it closed out. I believe that he's on board, and we've got a couple items here tonight, things that we've got to do, just some final things that need to be done. So we do have 3 change orders here. The first change order, which is change order number 4, and there's not been a bunch of change orders, but this first one is actually a deducted change order for $1,109. Peter, exactly what was that?
So the manufacturer warranty for the one dispenser, the dispensers, the additive fuel to the bus tanks, the DEF fuel, the manufacturer does not provide a warranty that meets the specifications of the project. And the contractor got the supplier to provide this back to the project sort of as a trade-off. So it's my understanding they have a 1-year warranty versus a 5-year warranty. So this is to sort of pay for the difference in the warranty amount.
And my recommendation is that we approve that change order.
Do we have a motion to approve change order 4? Tammy Hardy. We have a second.
Second.
Carrie Smallwood. All in favor?
Ms.
Sheila's
raising her hand.
All in favor, everyone?
Motion carried.
Motion carries.
Change order 5. And change order 5 involves several different issues with some of the electrical items within the bus garage, and we're just at the point that these, for instance, the canopy lighting, that is an add-on. These are really change orders that are value-added change orders to the project. So we need to just, we've haggled back and forth over them. I feel like we've got the best prices that we can get. I think the contractors tried to work with us on this. So we have 3 total change orders that deals with electrical items for $12,487.11. It's my recommendation that we pay those so we can get these taken care of and get this thing put to rest.
Do we have a motion to approve change order number 5?
I'll make the motion.
Carrie?
I'll second it.
Sheila, Tammy had it, or Sheila, either one.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Sheila voted aye. Motion carries. We have change order number 6.
Change order number 6 deals with the pressure washer. And we just felt like this needed to be something that our drivers, it's going to be something that's going to be here for a long time. So we wanted to make sure, instead of just rolling an old pressure washer out there in the bay and trying to use it, what we've done is we've come up with a propane pressure washer that will be installed up on the mezzanine level of the bus garage. And that pressure washer will be controlled by a remote switch on the outside of the building. It's very important you don't have drivers running back and forth in your garage area. There's issues with OSHA, with people being in the garage area while there's buses and work going on. So it allows them, it's a remote start from the outside. They never have to come indoors to do that. And of course, it's hooked the propane for the heat part of the water on that. And of course, there's wiring that's got to go back and forth, and the plumbing that's got to go back and forth. But what we've done here is we've really put in a system that's going to last for years. We're not having to roll things in and out of the garage, which is just a pain in the caboose, if you know what I mean. So we want to make sure that we've got a nice setup. So this change order, it is for, I think, the total amount. Jeremy, you left it there. I don't.
$19,000.
Yeah, $19,360.25.
Correct.
Thank you, man. Get back to that, and that's the total of that change order. But I think it's a real good value for our drivers. Makes their job a lot easier. So my recommendation is that we approve that change order.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve change order number 6? Tammy? Sheila, second. All in favor? Any opposed? Sheila voted aye. Motion carries.
Brian just joined, so I don't know if you'll want to abstain from that vote or not.
Brian, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, finally I can.
Okay. We just had a change order on the bus garage. Did not know if you heard that or not. If you want to vote on that.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
I'm in favor.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
He said his connection was spotty, so we may lose him out of here.
And I think that's it for the bus garage.
Okay.
And Peter,
I'll be here
June
next
board
month.
meeting with the BG4,
That is
or
the-
heads are gonna roll.
I hear you. I hear you.
All right.
All right, we're moving right along to the high school Phase 7 renovation project.
Well, just a real quick update, and I'll let Peter and Jeremy add anything that they want to add. We did have our bid opening today. I think it could have been maybe a lot worse, but we got several favorable bids, but the price is up. We did not receive a mechanical and plumbing bid, so we're going to have to rebid that particular bid package. I think was bid package number 12. Is that right?
Yes, number 12.
Number 12, we're going to have to rebid it. We also had one other bid package we thought that was maybe not in line. Even with an increase in cost, we thought that we might be rebidding a second package. The one good thing about this is that based on when we were starting this project, the sad thing is if we could have got KDE moving months ago, this thing would have already been gone to bid. And they drug their feet for 90 days trying to get approval, and now here we are, we're paying the price, and I mean literally paying the price for a 90-day delay in getting this project bid. So it was well over $1 million higher than what was projected. But we do have some ideals on maybe how we can since we're talking about HVAC, mechanical, and plumbing, that we may be able to use some of our ESSER 3 funds that were just allocated to the district to help offset that cost. If we can do that, that will pay for the cost overruns, and it may allow us to pick up the alternates that we know that we want to pick up. And there's a couple of alternates, I'll be honest, they're out of reach. But, you know, we'll just have to do what we can do. We're gonna finish the project, but I just can't tell you right now what exactly it's gonna look like. We'll probably try to come back and bid at least one or maybe two of those packages over again. That will start sometime next week. And I think in talking to Kenny, we believe instead of having a special called board meeting, because what happens if we have a special called board meeting on Tuesday and we approve the bids that we got on the other projects, it's gonna lock us in, and then we're gonna be forced to take whatever bid we get on the two packages that's gonna be rebid. So we don't need to award any bids on this project until we have all the bids in. So I guess I'm just saying we're gonna have to have a little patience, and probably we're looking at the June regular called board meeting on the 17th to award the bids on this project. And that gives us some time to explore financial options as well. We've got a little over $13 million in bonding potential. And I would hate to zero out everything we have as a district. We don't need to be setting at zero. So we're gonna have to get creative here, but I want everybody to know that this does not delay us. It might delay us starting baseball and softball, so instead of it being done in December, it may not be done to January, but it'll be done in time for the season. So it's better to take sort of a pause here for 30 days and get everything in line than it would be to move ahead and probably it could cost us a lot more money in the long run. And Jeremy, you and Peter, I don't know if you all want to add anything to that?
I think that's a really good summary. I do think that, I mean, I was pleased with several of the bid packages, like the bidders that we got, the contractors that we got on the project, I think are a strong group. So that is encouraging.
And several of our contractors from the ATC project, as right now, they currently hold the bid for this project as well.
Right.
And that bid price is good for 60 days.
Yeah.
So they have to hold those prices for 60 days. So it's not costing us anything to go ahead and get these other bid packages in.
So what you're saying is we probably are not gonna have a special called meeting May 25th.
No, we'll probably have one on June 17th and to go ahead, which is our regular call meeting. And probably at that time, we'll need to come back either late June, like on the 29th, which is on a Tuesday, or it could be possible just based on the fact if you all want to give us approval to go ahead and pay bills on June 29th, we can go ahead and pay bills and maybe not even have a special called meeting unless Peter needs it for the bus garage. Now, we may need the 29th for the closeout on the bus
We're
garage.
gonna close the bus garage.
We are closing
So-
the bus
We're
garage
gonna
in
close
June.
the bus.
Our thought is that it won't be done by the 17th, but we know that it can be done by the 30th. So I think right now, we need to plan on, instead of a special called meeting on May 25th, we need to probably go ahead and pencil that in. I believe the 29th is on a Tuesday.
Right.
And I think we probably need to pencil that special call date in for then, June the 29th.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Yep.
And if we want to change that, and we really don't need action item on that, it's just a matter of you all agreeing that we can have a board meeting that day. We just need a quorum in order to do that, to pay bills and maybe close out the bus garage. Anything else, guys, you can think of? Peter was getting antsy there when he thought I was
Well,
like,
I'm-
Okay, so we need to move along to our air quality upgrades, our ESSER 2 funds. We'll start out with West Urban Elementary.
Yeah, appreciate you seeing it.
Not West Urban.
We'll go ahead, Peter, if you want to. We did have both of our ESSER 2 projects on the HVAC improvements at West Urban, and then we had a district-wide project as well. This is for bipolar ionization. It's also for the repair of makeup air units. And it's also for some correctional items that had to do with ductwork in several areas, and also some plumbing fixtures that was not installed during the original West Urban project. So this particular project gets that school will be back up and running at 100% capacity, which it's not done since the day the door was open, to be honest. So that's what this is all about. Peter, if you want to go into the change in the BG1.
Yes, certainly. So the bids came in really well for West Urban, and the BG1 item that you have in front of you will show, I think on page 2, you can kind of see the total construction costs based on the bids at $188,774. And just to compare the estimate for that, going in on your BG1, the previous BG1, the total construction cost was $303,000. So there's some significant savings to the project there based on the bid that we got from Thermal Equipment for the project. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have about the BG1 for West Urban, sorry.
Like I'm reading here, so they're not going to, reading the applicable items for no, yes. So no water bottle filling stations, and we're just doing minor projects. Is that how I'm reading this?
We've already corrected the water bottle filling
okay.
stations. We did that ourselves, so that's why it was pulled out.
Oh, okay.
Because of the pandemic, we just couldn't wait. We needed to have those there. And the good thing about West Urban is that every classroom has its own sink. So they were able to really use cups and was able to distribute water through cups. And I don't know, I think in the future you could see water fountains almost go away, I think.
It's going to be an interesting,
It's going to be interesting moving forward in school construction that you might just be going to water bottle filling stations and those types of things, and water fountain themselves going away, because right now our water fountains are still shut down for use. But this does correct a lot of issues out there. As you know, that building has had a smell in it every once in a while from the sewage system. This is supposed to correct those issues. There's been some changes to venting up on top of the building that, if I understand correctly.
That is correct. There were some efforts made in the past, but this is based on Dan Higgins and Carrie Kelty's review of the building. The
3 years ago, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
That building, I think.
Yep, so, the steps that we're gonna take in this project will make those issues with the trap primers and the plumbing, and also some of the vented air ducts.
Yeah, it's probably not a good idea when the venting pipes for the sewer system is sitting right beside the makeup area.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, it just was a miss on the design to begin with, but that should all be corrected. So it was a great bid day. I mean, we saved over $100,000 on this bid, and it also included a change order that involved the filter placement within the system that we really had budgeted $380,000 for this project. So we're almost $200,000 below projected cost. So that's a good one. Not quite 200,000, but as you can see, about $150,000 under what we had budgeted. So my recommendation is to approve this BG1, where Peter can go ahead and get it revised.
So these were all recommendations that were given to us on how to spend the money, the ESSER money.
Yes, part of the directive or the guidance under the ESSER funding has to do with air quality.
Yeah.
And how do we improve air quality moving forward? Because I think not only there's a little bit, yes, we're dealing with the pandemic as we speak, but I think there's also some foresight here moving forward how do we combat down the road? For instance, how do we combat just the basic flu, the regular flu? So these bipolar ionization units attack virus particles that are in the air. So I believe that we will see our buildings become a lot healthier because of these systems that we're putting in. This particular one's at West Urban, because we centered that out because of some other issues there with makeup air units and just some misses during the first construction project. But this totally gets that building now to a place where we know that we've got a good system in terms of HVAC and air quality.
I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that we had direction on how to use that money.
Yeah.
So,
And we'll talk about that here in a minute, because I brought the budget back to you today. We made just a couple of minor tweaks for you all to approve, and we'll talk about again what those priorities were.
so we want to go ahead and have approval of BG1.
Yes, this is a revised BG1 for the West Urban SO2 project.
Okay.
Correct, right, it's your posted revision.
Do we have a motion? Miss Sheila?
Sheila?
Do we have, and Tammy Hardy seconds. I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor?
Brian voted aye as well.
Sheila and Brian both voted aye, and so motion carries. So I'd like to move on to award the construction contract to Thermal Equipment Services.
They were the low bidder.
They were the low bidder. I did send a letter of recommendation. We had CMTA review the bids. We reviewed the bids as well, and we would recommend awarding the bid to Thermal Equipment Service for the West Urban project. Be happy to answer any questions. And like I said, there is a base bid and there is an alternate bid for providing some additional work, and both the base bid and the alternate bid came in well below the estimate for the base bid on the project.
It's a great price,
Yeah.
really is.
Okay. So we're moving on to the Estill County District-wide air purification / HVAC upgrade.
Need a vote.
Oh, I thought,
Vote on the contract.
vote on the contract. Do we have a motion to award the contract? Sheila made a motion,
I'll second.
and Carrie Smallwood made a second. Would you like to call for a vote? All in favor? Any opposed? Sheila and Brian both said yes.
And let me, Ms. Donna, before we move on, the one other big item on this was the control system at West Urban is being completely updated. And it's a non-proprietary system, which means a lot to us, because what's happened over time is that Train was the original installer for the HVAC controls in that building. And we've had several issues over time with them having to come and fix that. And there was always a big, huge upfront cost for them to come, and it was basically controls. They were the only people that could work on those controls. So we were sort of pigeonholed. If we had a problem, we had to deal with Train. And we don't have to do that any longer. The control system that we got is several companies can work on those controls. So you've got competition. If you call somebody and they're not there to help you, you can always call somebody else. You're not going to get backed into a corner with some big $5,000 upfront cost to go and look at the system or to upgrade the system and those types of things. So I think that's huge on this too, moving forward, that it gives us, sort of puts us back in the free market when it comes to being able to have people come in. And that's the same way to high school. Excuse me, Sheila?
It makes it more competitive.
Yes, it does, and that saves us money in maintenance costs, and that's
If it does.
a good thing. And that, the same thing will happen at the high school as well, as that system comes under control. That's a huge part of that project. So I just want to make that point, and we can move on.
All right. So the air purification HVAC upgrades district-wide.
Yes, so again, just like the last one, we have two items. We have the BG1 and then awarding construction contract. If you look at the BG1, you'll notice on page 2 of that the Total construction cost is $117,669. That represents the bid by Premier Mechanical to install these units throughout the district. And we are talking about furnishing bipolar ionization kits for the high school, the middle school, Estill Springs, and West Urban. So those are the 4 schools that are involved in this project. And just so you know, this BG1 revision revises the initial BG1, which was, the total construction cost was $162,000. So there's another $45,000, you know, that the district has saved based on earlier cost opinions for the project.
Under budget, as you asked for.
Under budget and ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I'd like to call for a vote. Do we have a motion
I'll motion.
on revision of BG1? Considering
Sheila had the motion.
Sheila and Tammy Hardy. I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Sheila and Brian both say aye, so motion carries, everyone.
Okay, and the last part of this one is the letter of recommendation. Both CMTA and Ross Tarrant reviewed the bids put in on this particular project. We feel confident with the selection of Premier Mechanical Construction to, Premier Mechanical Contracting, and their base bid of $117,669. So we would recommend awarding them the contract and get started.
So do we have a motion to award the construction contract to Premier Mechanical Contracting and approve the direct purchase orders?
I make a motion.
Sheila makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll see.
Tammy Hardy? All in favor?
Aye.
Sheila says aye. Brian says aye. Motion carries.
Guys, both of these projects will be done before school starts.
Yes.
So all systems will be up and go. In the meantime, we did not mention South Urban. We'll be doing those in-house as there are different units at South Urban that required a little bit different engineering in terms of what we needed. We're going to be doing those in-house, so Mr. Reese and his maintenance crew will be doing South Urban as well. So every school in the district will have bipolar ionization to begin the school year. And that'll be important with all kids coming back and hopefully nobody in a mask. That is the goal come August the 4th. Thank you all for those items.
Mr. Peter, be careful on the road.
I will be careful on the road. Thank you all. And I do, Mr. Saylor, the BG1s, if I can, those signed in the meeting minutes are what we'll need to get to KDE for their approval. So
You ready for her to scan them to you in the morning?
that would be fantastic. I don't need to take them with me now. You can
She'll
just
scan them in the
to me
morning. They're
as soon
signed.
as they're ready. That would be great.
They're
Thank
signed
you
as
so
well.
much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate all the help
Be
tonight.
careful going home.
Okay, we're moving along with our action items.
Okay.
First of all, we have Senate Bill 128.
Okay, of course, Senate Bill 128, otherwise known as the do-over bill. All students that wanted to have the opportunity to repeat the year were to make a request by May 1. As you notice that our request pretty much came from the high school, and I'm not being critical, but we've been told this wasn't a sports-related bill, but I think most people seen it as that. I think Senator Max Wise has made it clear several times now that this was not a sports-related bill. The other day when it came out that the NCAA has made a ruling that if you have a student that is a Division I athlete, they better think twice before they opt to do Senate Bill 128 because based on NCAA rules, after a student has completed 8 semesters, if they do not graduate and start to attend college, they lose their eligibility to attend a Division I school for that school year. So they would be forfeiting a Division I scholarship if they decide to do this repeat bill. And I can tell you that Senator Wise, when he was asked about this question, he said, "I've told you all, this is not a sports-related bill. This was an academic bill to allow students that felt like they needed that opportunity to take it over." I will say that I feel like that our elementary school's done pretty much a fantastic job talking to parents and stuff and letting parents know that students that needed to repeat, they had those meetings with those parents, and for the most part, most parents have been in agreement. We've had some parents that have been upset because they've been told that their child is going to be retained and they don't want them to be retained. And so you all will know that is basically by law and by statute, the final decision-making authority in those situations lies with the principal. We hope that the teacher, the principal, and the parents can sit down and work out a common solution, but that doesn't always happen, so somebody's got to be the final authority. And I can tell you that I will not overrule any principal. I'm not in that school. I don't look at student data in that school on an individual basis like they do. So I will not be overruling any principal on a retention matter. That should be made jointly, but if the principal has to step up to the plate, our principals will step up to the plate and do that. It would be no different than a child that fails Algebra 1 at the high school. If the child fails Algebra 1, the parent can't appeal that. You know, the teacher has the final authority about whether or not that child passes that class. That's the same for 3rd grade, 5th grade, 2nd grade, whatever the grade level may be. And we have a lot of kids that will be repeating at those levels. I don't have exact numbers yet, but just know that we've tried to make those decisions based on data. So that brings us down to Estill County High School. We've had 15 requests for students that want to repeat this coming school year. Those students have been told that if you repeat all of your grades from this year, you're going to be in the same classes again. If it's a do-over bill, we're going to have them do over the classes that they are currently taking. The only exception of that is that we have opened up the possibility for some seniors, if they are repeating, that they can go to the Area Technology Center. We feel like that's a new opportunity. We want to make that available for perhaps juniors and seniors. Originally, I don't know that this was in its sense, the legislation, if it was thought out or what it was doing. I mean, I would tell you, I was against it. I just didn't think it made sense to do that. I will say this, the buck's been passed to you. I think 95 House members voted yes on this. I think 34 out of 36 senators voted yes on this. So they did a fantastic job of dumping it right in your lap. And based on the number of requests that we have, and because they're all at the high school, my recommendation is different tonight than it would have been when this first started, because I had some very real concerns about Estill Springs and the fact that it's overcrowded and what may happen. But with that being said, my recommendation to you all tonight is that we approve Senate Bill 128 and we kick it back to these parents, and they have until June 1 to either say yes definitely or no, we're going to opt out and we're going to go on with our class. But now I will tell you this, on June 1, after they've made the decision, they cannot come back on August the 3rd and say, we made a mistake, we want to go on with our class. We're going to follow the guideline exactly the way it is. So on June 1, they will have to say, these 15 parents will have to say, yes, we want our child to repeat. And at that point in time, they're locked because they will be reported to the state as being retained. So my recommendation is that we approve 128. And again, that's different than what I thought I would have done 2 months ago, but that's going to be my recommendation to you all.
So do we have a motion to approve Senate Bill 128?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so Brian Covey makes a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Shayla Samples, second. I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Brian is an aye. Sheila Samples is an aye. Carrie Smallwood is an aye. Donna Isford is an aye. Do we have any opposition?
Would you like to abstain, Tammy? or-
Yes, I'm against it, so I don't know what I gotta do.
Well, just know if, by rules of
Abstaining.
order, if you abstain, your vote goes with the majority. So
If
we'll
you-
record it as abstained if you want to. If you want to vote no, you would need to do so.
Okay, I wanna vote no.
Okay,
So we
that's
have
okay.
4 in favor, 1 opposed. That motion carries. Okay.
We'll bring up and listen, guys, anytime, there's nothing wrong with a no vote when you feel strongly. I want
Okay.
everybody to know that.
All right.
If you feel strongly, that's exactly what we need to be doing.
Okay.
You asked about the CARES budget again just a minute ago, Ms. Donna, and we talked about what the key areas were. And so if you want, we'll go through this budget real quick. Didn't change a lot. I'll show you the changes in a minute. But trying to make up for lost learning. So that's one of the pillars of the CARES Act money. So that's why we've got summer school and ESS services here. That item did not change from the last time. If you'll go on down, Jeremy, to the next item. Next item is instructional technology and trying to move forward in terms of providing, if we do get to the point, if something happens, we have a variant and we have to go back to remote learning, we have to make sure that we have the capability to do that. So in this budget, as I told you all last time, we have funding for one-to-one devices this coming year for West Urban. And then the second column there is funding for one-to-one devices at Estill Springs. So by the time we're through the next 2 years, we will have one-to-one computer devices from grades 1 through 12. And kindergartners will have computers, but they'll be learning how to use those computers going into next year. So that's what this is about, the technology in terms of our software for our different programs and those items. So this is instructional related. Next group of items, the next column, and this is where we see some changes. First, to Careertech Ed. We've really had some discussions around the fact with a new area technology center, at least for the first couple years, we're going to have somebody that's really focused on trying to make sure that students are trying to meet college and career readiness standards. And this particular person would be working directly with the Gear Up program and also with our high school counselors. And since it's being employed at the area technology center level, it's our employee. But our ask is also going to be, not only are they going to work with our students, but they're going to work with all students in the Estill County Area Technology Center. So that means this individual will assist Powell County students as well, trying to make sure that they have a career path or an education path moving forward. So we did make an addition here. So when we had to make an addition here, we did make some changes elsewhere. So we moved down to the next one, health services. Again, that's direct services to students, and that's the continuation in purple there of the middle school nurse and the South Urban CNA that we had this year due to CARES 1. We continue that for the next 2 years through CARES 2. Move on down, Jeremy, maintenance and custodian supplies. Of course, this is for additional maintenance and cleaning of our buildings. We revised those numbers there in red just based on the BG ones you just approved. That helped pay for the changes that we made for the career and college counselor. We also added back in the district custodian. We don't know right now if we're going to be able to hire that person, but we've got to make sure we've got enough staff on hand, especially if we're going back to school full go, no virtual option. We're going to have to make sure we have adequate help to make sure our buildings are clean. So that, we paid for the district custodian this year. I had originally left it out of CARES 2, I put it back in. And then the last items is the family and mental support. We already talked about the counselor at South Urban and hiring the school social worker. And then the prior year expenses, we made some adjustments there to make the budget work out. Notice down at the bottom, the third number over $3,756,403, that is the CARES 2 budget. So the changes from this time is putting the custodian back in and adding the college and career counselor. And I would like for you all to approve that change. Notice that for the third year, this is the third year, this goes all the way out to the 24 school year. We've already identified $1.4 million worth of services. If we want to continue these services, it'd be $1.4 million. Now know that you've got $8.4 million of ESSER 3 money that's sitting out there waiting to be budgeted. Same items can be spent for. After school and extended services, summer school, making remediation for lost learning, technology, instructional supplies, buildings, and that's something we can look in moving forward and making some additional building upgrades if we need to at Springs and South. And we'll talk to you all about those a little bit later. And then paying those prior year expenses. So we've got some funding out there that will help us in the future and let us be able to do some things maybe that we've not been able to do. So with those two changes, I'm basically adding the college and career counselor and putting the custodian back in, and I'm going to ask you to approve that budget one last time, and we'll submit that budget tomorrow for a final budget. And
Now, I
that
was
would be
gonna
my
ask
recommendation. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, the social worker, is that for all schools? 'Cause
Yes, they'll be working directly with the family resource centers and youth service centers to meet the needs of our kids. As we know, DCBS gets overwhelmed at times with a lot of the things that is reported to them. And hopefully our goal is that I think DCBS, if we can hire the right person, will want to work with this person. And when they have to, basically, if there's a home that is not maybe what it should be, you know, they have a hard time substantiating every one of those cases. So when they say, no, we're not going to substantiate a child abuse case here, but you all need to work with them, that's going to be this person's job. And especially after what we just went through with all the flooding, we've got a lot of families still hurting from that. They need help. They need resources. That's what this person is going to do, working with the Family Resource Center people. And we've got several applicants already. We're getting ready to move on a lot of these applications.
And those salaries come from our district's salary scale based on your level of education and based on your years of experience?
Yes, and we've not had, for instance, the counselor is reflective of what we've had in the past at other schools. The social worker is a brand new position. So what we did is we looked at surrounding school districts and tried to compare the school districts our size, the ones that do have a social worker, what are they paying? And we tried to make it equivalent to that. Same thing for college and career readiness counselor. We tried to look at that. That's not the same as a regular school counselor. That counselor can be somebody that doesn't actually have a certification as a counselor, but they have experience on college and career placement. So it could be somebody, for instance, that let's say it's worked at Eastern or BCTC or Berea, and they've done that. They might want to come here and work specifically with our high school kids.
And the same salary goes for the nurse?
The nurses were based on some surveys that we had done on local people. We already had a nurse and we had an LPN when I arrived here. So we have tried to keep those salaries pretty consistent although we're going to make a change to the number of hours our nurses are working because we need to do that, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But then we added the CNA, and of course, you know, we looked at what does the CNA make and tried to look at that in terms of what that price is. Now, those numbers that you see up there, that includes fringe and all. That includes health insurance, fringe, salary. You have to budget all of that. So I'll show you where the social worker's at here in a minute on the salary schedule. Salary-wise.
So a social worker has a 4-year college degree?
Yes, certified in social work.
So a nurse has a 4-year college degree also?
Yeah, and
But there's a huge discrepancy in the pay between both of those.
yeah, based on the market value of what those individuals are paid in the private sector.
In a school setting?
In a school setting,
Not
yes.
in a hospital
Not
setting?
in a hospital setting, no. Our nurses could make a whole lot more money working at a hospital setting or even in a large clinic, but they choose to do this because they like the work schedule and they like to be with kids, and sometimes it's because of family matters. So these salaries are based on what you see other school districts paying on average, and we try to sort of hit in there to be competitive with other districts.
I don't agree with this. I don't agree with it. I'll just tell you that up front. I don't agree with some of the salary schedules that are put up there, but that's for a different discussion, I suppose, but,
Well, we're going to be looking at salary schedule in just a minute.
yeah.
So I brought that budget back to you tonight for approval so that we can get it submitted. It is due immediately.
Okay, so I guess we need a vote, right?
Yes.
So do we have a motion to approve the CARES 2 budget worksheet that's been revised? Do we have a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion.
So Tammy Hardy makes a motion and Sheila Samples seconds that. Do we have a vote? All in favor? Sheila says aye. Brian Covey says aye.
Aye.
Carrie, did you vote? So, do we have any nays? Okay. The motion carries. Okay. We'll talk about our district staffing policy.
Jeremy, if you could pull that up and we'll go through this, and what's in yellow here up at the top is just some changes in job duties in terms of the assistant superintendent taking on instructional supervisor duties, the HR personnel person, which is number 4. These are already people that are employed. It's just a change in job titles. The finance director, quite frankly, should have been a certified person for quite a while now based on some information we're finding out. So we're just moving her from classified to certified. Really doesn't change her pay scale because she was paid as a certified person anyway. It's just the fact now that she does actually hold certification. And then, of course, the CIO, Mr. Simpson back here, is taking on some facility roles in terms of safe schools and different items along with safe schools. If you'll scroll on down, the item under number 1 there, certified district staff, that used to be 220 days for a transportation director. As you know, we're sort of going a different direction with that. I'm going to ask you that position, it's not an ad, but it's just we're going to change the job title for that position, and that job position will be our DPP for 220 days. Guys, We got some good news budget-wise, which I'll tell you here in a minute, based on 18-19 data. But next year is when the cliff is going to hit. Because this coming school year, we're going to go back, and our funding for next school year is going to be based on our enrollment and our attendance for this school year. So we've got to have somebody that is dedicated 100% of their time to making sure that we get out here and we get our kids back in school. As we've said, we're not offering a virtual option. The only virtual option will be the virtual option we had that was here before the pandemic hit. And there's very few situations where we've offered virtual options in the future. So our goal is that for all of our students to come back to in-person instruction. And we've had several students that went to homeschool. We've got to get out here and try to convince these parents the best thing for them to do is get them back in school. So I'm just asking for a title change there from Transportation Director to a DPP full-time 220 days. The other positions here, as you can see, yellow is just a change. The one in green, that is the Project Lead the Way teacher. That is a teacher in our district that's going to be going to the ATC. And we will be getting an MOA with KDE to help offset that salary. We go on down to ROTC coordinator. We're trying to hire that position. It's been vacant. The Success Academy principal has athletic director duties. And we feel like that based on just what some of the issues that we've had with athletics and just making sure that we've got somebody who's dedicated to that job, that principal at the Success Academy will become the full-time athletic director and will be 240 days if you approve this policy. Moving on down. You'll see some changes in the number of days here for these individuals. It's listed. We did have to hire an additional speech pathologist. That is pandemic related because of not being able to provide services maybe the way that we need to be. You know, we've got a lot of students. We've got some students that's not exited, and we've just got way too many students that need speech therapy and need to be able to catch up services that have not been able to be provided during the pandemic. So based on numbers, we are going to have to add a speech pathologist, and you know that's based on cap size limits. It's set by KDE. We do feel like our school psychologist needs to be on site more in terms of the testing that we have to perform on our students. The occupational therapists and the mental health specialists are going to have to provide services throughout the summer. That is an addition of 5 days for those individuals. And there's your new school social worker for 190 days, 8 hours a day paid out of the CARES Act. If you look down at the item number 6, the principal at South Urban will also take on all preschool director duties along with early childhood. So that principal position will be bumped to 240 days if you approve this. And then the preschool counselor for 195 days through CARES Act. And that's again based on our scale for our counselors. Jeremy, moving on down. No changes. You just see that the office clerk position up in the front office is still vacant. It's there, going on down. You'll see custodial services and the custodians that are paid for through the CARES Act money, which is what we've been doing. So those are still in the district staffing policy. Student health services. We've asked for all of our nurses to be bumped to 7.5 hours a day, because what was happening, our nurses was arriving at 8 o'clock, leaving at 3 o'clock, but we actually had to have nurses on site somewhere around 7:45 to 7:30. So we actually had times of the day when students was in the building that our nurses were not on site. We feel like that's an oversight and needs to be corrected. So that will involve a increase in those salaries, but really feel like that's needed. And of course, with all the new duties that our healthcare coordinator has underwent, we've already paid her additional days this year due to with CARES Act money and due to COVID, and I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. Number 9 is the college and career counselor we talked about. And if you'll go on down, Jeremy. Transportation director, I have named right now our current admin person there in transportation as the acting transportation director. If you approve this, this will be a change in her position moving forward into the next school year. It is right now on an interim basis, and we're going to see how that goes. She has a lot of experience. She's been there since I got here in the district, and I think it's time that we give her an opportunity to be the transportation director.
And who's that?
We really can't mention a name in
Okay.
open session. Sorry. We had 25 bus assistants in the past, and we have 30 full-time bus routes. We have a hard time keeping our bus monitors, and it's almost, we've talked about this several times. We went back and forth with this several times. A lot of school districts do not even pay bus monitors. Some school districts pay students on the buses to be the bus monitors. You know, I think that it makes for a safer bus as long as we can afford it. I think it's good to have that extra set of adult eyes. Well, if we've got 30 bus routes, then we need to go ahead and have 30 full-time bus monitors to try to not have so much turnover. Because what happens is that, you know, you're not working for a lot of pay to begin with, somewhere between 4 and 5.5 hours. So if you don't have benefits, it's really not something that they can do full-time and really be productive at and be fair to them. So we're going to hire enough bus monitors where that we have a full-time bus monitor on each full-time bus route with our full-time drivers. And then, of course, these are all our grant positions, and then I've tried to update this the best I can, but we have positions paid out of Title I. We have a preschool contract with Community Action Council, and you can see in item B, those are our employees that they reimburse us for, and item C are their employees that they pay for. And as you move on down, you will see ESS, of course, that's after school services. We also have asked that South Urban and Estill Springs are served by one Family Resource Center director, and one person can't be 2 places at the same time. So we really feel like because of some changes, we can no longer do what we've done in the past in terms of dividing the money between our centers. So there's enough money in the Estill Springs grant, not only to meet the needs of our students, but also to pay for a Family Resource Center assistant at South Urban that will be on site every day to deal with students and parents. We've got our Gear Up grant, which is our 2 college and career navigators and 2 academic interventionists. And then, of course, we have a contract, item H, with the Estill County Sheriff Department for our school resource officers. Those are, other than your school staffing policies, those are all the positions in this school district. Now, one big change, if you didn't look at last year's, you'll never notice, adult ed is no longer on there. Because the way adult ed is now being done, it is completely changed. So we no longer have a contract with our group out of our former, what is it? Thornhill. Thornhill was our group out of Frankfort. We no longer have a contract with them. They extended for 1 year. There needed to be some changes because of budget. So what we have done is we have worked out an agreement with Thornhill that they're going to pay us the cost to operate that program, which I think is less than $7,500, I think is what I've told her. She will pay us for those costs, but they're going to hire the adult ed director directly through Thornhill. So they will no longer be an employee of our district. As a matter of fact, the lady that did that program for years has retired from teaching. And so moving forward, we will not be doing anything with adult ed other than providing some support services. So that is all of your district staffing policy. So in order for us to move forward with district staffing and get some jobs posted, I would ask that you would approve the district staffing policy with those changes.
I have a question about the Family Resource Service Center. I think we talked about it before, but I can't remember exactly. So why did we make the one at South Irvin an assistant? Because you said earlier that it's really hard to be two places at one time. So I assume that maybe Estill Springs is going to be the lead in that.
Yes, they
So
are
why
the
wouldn't
lead.
you make that person be not an assistant, but that's their Family Resource Center?
Because the grant is set up that it is Estill Springs, South Urban is one school.
Gotcha,
So that's the way the grant is set up.
gotcha.
So there's not enough money in a sense to pay two directors in the grant program, but it's because of the way the grant's written, it is one school. They see grades P through 3, or P through 2, excuse me, as one school. So it'd almost be like it's a principal and an assistant principal is sort of what you have.
I just was thinking because you said it's hard to be two places at once, why are we doing that? But I understand what you're saying.
Okay, and about those bus aides, so are the kids not allowed to be the bus aide anymore since we've done the 30? Or can they
It's
still?
not been done for a long time in this
Okay.
district, Tammy. It's not been done since I've been here, but I will say there's been a couple of exceptions.
Okay.
Like, for instance, if there's been a bus that, a situation where we've had a hard time maybe getting somebody.
Yeah.
We have hired some senior students
Okay.
before, but just for a few weeks or something to
Okay.
basically serve in a
Because I know when I
sub-role.
used to ride it a long time ago that they let the kids do it, so I didn't
Yeah,
know.
it's not been done since I've been
Okay.
here. I don't know when it changed, to be honest.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
And I can tell you, just so for your all's information, we're one of very few school districts that provide a bus monitor on the bus.
Yeah.
They do hire students and go that route.
I had one other question about the office clerk,
Yes,
front desk. Is that where you've been sitting?
yeah. We've not moved her into her full-time role as my secretary yet.
So there's a full-time, a 220-day position available to sit there at the front desk and answer calls and take on some other responsibilities.
Yeah, there's also some admin duties with that involves Title I and special ed and food service. So that person, it doesn't have to have by any means a 4-year degree, but they do need to have experience in terms of secretarial practice, administrative assistant practice. Secretarial's not a good word anymore. I'm getting too old, I still use these old terms, Donna, but as an admin assistant. And that job's been posted now for a while, and I was waiting on this board meeting tonight to get this approved, and we're meeting tomorrow to start the hiring process on several of these positions.
And sorry, I just had a couple questions. So the Success Academy will now be at the ATC.
That is correct.
And so you're going to have your principal of the Success Academy will actually be in that building.
In that front office building there downstairs where everybody enters the building, that principal will be there, and the ATC principal will be directly above them.
Upstairs.
Any other questions, anybody? If everybody feels comfortable, my recommendation would be to approve the district staffing schedule.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the district staffing schedule, staffing
I'll make a
policy?
motion. I'll make a motion.
Tammy Hardy makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Carrie Smallwood has a second. I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed? So Sheila Sample says yes. Brian Covey,
Brian said aye right there.
Brian said aye. So motion carries.
Thank you, Sheila.
So we need to approve job descriptions for the 21-22 school year.
Yes, you just approved several positions there that we need job descriptions for, and you've had those posted for several days to be able to look at those. And some of these positions, we've had a family resource center assistant before. The social worker position is, of course, new. Transportation manager, very similar to what our transportation director job description was, other than the fact you have a classified, not a certified person in that job now. College and career counselor has been developed through a collaboration with several different organizations, and then of course the DPP role has to do with the fact it's a 220-day job, and we did add some responsibilities since it is full-time DPP. Whoever that person is going to have to get them a pair of running shoes, because there's going to be a lot of work to do with DPP. So my recommendation to you guys would be that we approve those 5 job descriptions in one motion.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve those 5 job descriptions for the 21-22 school year?
I'll make the motion.
Carrie Smallwood makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Tammy Hardy seconds. I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Brian Covey says aye. Sheila Samples,
I would aye also.
she's aye also. Motion carries. So I guess we're down to salary schedule.
Based on what you all had approved in January and what we have moved forward with, is that we have approved a 1% raise across the board for all certified and classified personnel. So we have made those changes within the salary schedule on each and every job class and job description to begin with. Let me also say that there's a lot of talk about ESSER funds, CARES Act money, and bonuses. And I know that our employees are well aware of the fact that there's several school districts that are giving bonuses in lieu of raises. As you all know, you just came from KSBA this weekend, and there were several topics or several discussions about the fact that you needed to be very leery about giving bonuses and what kind of issues that they create for employees in the long run. And yes, it's nice to get maybe a big lump sum or a big sum of money up front, but in giving a 1% raise, and I know you all have even talked about, as long as financials go okay, that not only we give a 1% raise this year, but the goal is to give another 1% raise next year. So when you start doing that, then you're basically talking about, for most teachers, you're talking about $1,000 over that 2-year period. And you say, well, you got districts that's given $1,000 bonus per year. The raises mean so much more to our employees long-term because of retirement than what a one-time bonus is for somebody to go out and spend it and be gone. And I know in some cases, it doesn't seem like a lot of money in a lot of these job classes, but it will make a big difference over the 10, 15, 20 years that somebody would be employed. So I just want to let everybody know the philosophy that we've had here as a board team is that we're going to try to give raises instead of giving bonuses. So there's really, the only changes on this scale here, if you move forward, Jeremy, and this is almost identical, guys. There's been very few changes to this other than those changes that we've talked about in terms of this salary schedule. So moving forward, there's really no changes here on that particular page. We move on down, that there was one change here, that the district principal and preschool director, there are a lot of after-school activities there. The principal at the Success Academy also used to receive this stipend, but because of that change to a full-time AD and because there are really no after-school activities for Success Academy, we made that stipend as an AD stipend, not to be shown there. So there's no changes on this page other than you lost one person there. Moving on down. Next page has to do with the number of extended days. Big change here was that you should see the finance director show up on this page, which is about 10 items down. That used to show up on the classified scale. As we have found out, that person is actually can be considered certified, and we have now moved her to a full certification status. If you go on down, you can sort of see there was some changes in some days here to try to equal some things out. For instance, our guidance counselors, how they're paid on a ranking scale. The higher up they're in, if they're in high school, middle school, they require more days than, let's say, a guidance counselor that's in elementary school versus a guidance counselor that would be at South Urban. And those are all prorated. Same with your assistant principals. As you move assistant principals down the ladder, you see a prorating of the number of days there. Very few changes on that page other than just clean up a few things. You do see down there at the bottom the project Lead the Way ATC instructor. That's going to be based on the contract with KDE once that person's hired. And this is one thing I'm going to make mandatory with all of our career tech teachers, is that last bullet. Our CTE teachers are paid 3 additional days, and they're paid those days to go to the summer conference. And we're going to start requiring them to go to the summer conference. If they do not go to the summer conference, they're going to lose those 3 days. They have to show proof that they're going. Because I believe that summer career tech conference is very important to their programs. So that will be mandatory from this point on. Okay, Jeremy. This is your stipend schedule. And notice that I said, notice the second one right there under district positions, $5,000. That's your athletic director. That's that stipend I was talking about there. And those changes go along with what you would see over at, go on down, Jeremy. Right there, $1,500 on that right-hand column. The very last item there says game manager, high school, middle school. See where I'm talking about, Jeremy? You want to put your arrow up there? Move up to $1,500, last item right there. See game manager? We've tried this for the last couple of years, guys. We've had basically a middle school AD, we've had a high school AD, and we have had a district AD. And I knew better than this from the get-go, and we just consistently, we have issues where 95% of our people do the right thing all the time. It only takes one person, though, to just flat out cause a lot of problems. And whenever you've got more than one person in charge of something, it just creates havoc. And as we've talked, I've talked to even some of you guys, we can't have somebody going to one person getting one answer and they get a no, and then they go to another person and they get a yes. So that's the reason for the change in terms of the district AD. We have one athletic director as of 2 minutes ago or 5 minutes ago when you approved that salary schedule. We no longer have a high school and a middle school AD. We have one district athletic director. Now we're going to have 4 game managers because that high school athletic director cannot be at every event. These are going to be the same people, if they want to continue, that they're there for game management. They're there to supervise, to make sure that the officials are there, that have those things, but they make no decisions in terms of the athletic program unless they're consulted by Austin, and then Austin will make the final decisions as our AD. And I just mentioned a name and probably shouldn't have, but everybody knows he's the AD. So that's the biggest change that you see on this list. The rest of these things pretty much remain the same, have not changed over time. Questions?
I have a question about the athletic director's stipend.
Uh-huh.
So $5,000, and that goes for the entire year.
Yes, along with the 240 days. The $5,000 is for things that's done outside of contract, Saturdays, Sundays, which we know there are some of those, and that type of thing, just like I'm paid a stipend for my after-hours duties, and most principals are paid a stipend for the same thing.
So basketball, football, and these things only go for one season, but he has to do stuff all year long. Do you think that's an
Yeah, he's also paid 20 additional days on top of that for athletic director.
okay?
So those 20
So
additional
his-
days are worth $6,000. So he's technically got about an $11,000 stipend for that job altogether.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes. Yeah, and if you don't think about that,
That's what I'm asking.
yeah. Well, in all honesty, his job was 210 days. So actually, if you want to get right down to it, he's probably 30 days as AD, 210 as the principal.
Because
So-
that's a tough job.
Yeah, so technically, if you want to really get down to it, we're talking about $9,000 plus the 5, so it's $14,000 is what he's paid as a stipend and days to be the AD, which is pretty much on par with what you see at a lot of different places, and probably takes us all the way back to our former athletic director who held that position. Any other questions about stipends? Moving on.
And these are paid at the end of the season?
In some cases, those stipends that are over 3,000, or maybe there's a limit, if they're over a certain amount, they're paid in their check during the year.
Okay. I couldn't remember for sure how we
So
did that.
most of them are paid at the end of the season. We pay generally November, February, and May, based on the season.
I think it's that much.
Yeah, supplements over 4,000 should be, anything under 4,000 is paid 3 times a year. Anything over 4,000 is figured into their salary and divided by 12. Any other questions? There is a extra coaching, extra service coaching supplement page there, Jeremy, if you go through. This was added 2 years ago. It talks about how experience is awarded. It was done in FY18. There's no change in that. If you want to go on down.
So we're on the draft budget?
No, I'm sorry. We're just
Oh.
still going through the
I thought you were telling me to go on down.
Yeah, the extended days, we do tell employees when they work. And we implemented this last year, and we're starting to make sure that we don't want somebody working all their extended days during snow days, and then come June, they're off the whole month of June. We can't afford to have that. So I basically tell them what days or how many days they need to work each month. So I just wanted you to know what that page was. You can go on down. Same thing with them, what days they have to work. So somebody can't take 3 weeks off in June. They have to work 15 days in July, 15 days in June, and then they take 25 others at their discretion, okay? Move on down. No changes really to this page except for those positions that was added just a minute ago on district staffing. You can go on, Jeremy, to the next page. This is where your college and career coordinator or counselor, it went into this category here, the middle category. right there and with the Frisky and Youth Service Center manager, that's where that particular job class was added. And if you go down at the bottom of the page, right there, that group, that's where the social worker was added in that group of area as well, in terms of what their hourly rate would be. And again, this was all done based on school systems from our area in terms of what people are paid. Moving on down, Jeremy. No changes really to this page other than the 1%. You can keep going. Same for this page, no change except for the 1% raise that was added. This page here does show a change in terms of how our community education director is paid. It's the fourth one down, Jeremy, right there. The community ed director is now paid there on an hourly rate. It was listed as a salary before, and there was no other employee in this school district that was listed that way. So that's been corrected. You also see the transportation manager job listed in that same bullet point where the community ed director. That is as an admin one, secretary, and that is the same as our food service director. So I felt both of those are pretty much equal jobs, and that's where they were added. And Jeremy, down on the last pages, and that will basically do it. We did add during summer school for certified staff, there's a $30 pay limit there. That does not, they're not being paid their daily rate. Everybody that's working summer school is either paid their hourly rate or teachers are paid $30 an hour. They're going to be working 7 hours a day, $210, which is less than what a beginning teacher would normally make. But it's a little bit, you know, it's not as maybe structured as you would think. It's not as many students, so we did feel like that is a pretty fair rate based on what's being paid in other districts. Last thing, go on the last page, I think, Jeremy. We did just change our substitute pay. Used to, we had 3 different things out through here. We just felt like if somebody's got a rank 1, whether, you know, they've been working 5 years, if they've been working 25 years and retired, they should get $125 for the day. It shouldn't be one person gets $115, the next one gets $120, and this one gets $125. So we just made it a lot simpler. This is what you get paid for a substitute. If you got rank 1, you're $125. If you're rank 2, you're $120. Rank 3 is $115, rank 4 is $95, rank 5 is $90. So somebody that's got 64 hours of college credit can make $90 a day substitute teaching. And the only other add down here, we do have a situation every once in a while, it doesn't happen 10 times a year. We have a situation where either the principal or both principals are out of the building at the same time. And so we really have no administrator on site. Well, we felt like it would be good. A lot of districts do this. It's not that big a deal. We put in a substitute principal salary. So if we have a retired principal that wants to come back and work as a substitute principal, they could be there that day as an administrator, as long as they have their certification up to date, and they would get paid $200 a day to be the sub-principal. And item number 3, right above that, was full-time substitute teachers. It used to be 20,000. We've raised that 22,000, I think it was. We raised it to 25. And those are the only changes in the district staffing schedule that we have. So I don't know if you guys have any questions, but I wanted to go through it thoroughly with you to make sure everybody knew.
Any discussion? Okay, guess we're gonna call for a motion.
Yes, if everybody's good to go, then I ask for, my recommendation is approve the salary schedule.
Do we have a motion to approve the salary schedule for FY22? Have a motion by Tammy Hardy. Do we have a second? Sheila Samples, second. I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Sheila Samples is aye.
Aye.
Brian Covey is aye. Motion carries.
I said aye.
Okay, we're to the draft budget.
Guys, we can go through this budget line for line, or I can tell you what the highlights are. When you approved this budget in January, it had a 4% tax increase in it. We took the 4% tax increase out. I do not think it's fair to ask our taxpayers to pay a tax increase, especially with the fact that we've gotten CARES 2 and CARES 3 money. So we'll run the school district on the dollars that we're already receiving from local taxes. I would ask you that come July that we would keep our same tax rate, because again, I'm trying to let you know that this year we're going to be fine. It's next year that I'm worried about. We're going to have CARES money and we're going to be able to make up for any losses that we have. But if we don't keep a steady tax rate and we fall off the cliff, 2 years from now and 3 years from now, it could be disastrous for our school district, because this federal money is going to go away. So I'm just saying, no tax increase come July. And we can put that to rest right now. We just got to vote for it. I think you all agree with me. We don't need to have a tax increase when we've got $8 million to spend in ESSER 3 money. So we'll be good stewards of what we've got, and there's no reason to raise taxes. The other change is that during the legislative session, we were given full-day kindergarten funding. Now, based on our numbers, just on the SEEP formula, we know right off the bat right now, we're looking at an additional $340,000. So that money has been added to this budget. And it has been budgeted, and you know, at the time we had about $1 million contingency. Now this budget is showing about a $1.2 million contingency. And as far as any other major changes, there's been no changes to that budget. We still have the 2 buses we've got to pay for. We've got some maintenance projects in here that we've talked about. All of these additional jobs, they were already in here. They're already budgeted. There's an increase in CERS retirement that's in here. So all those things have been covered. So when you go on down, Jeremy, go to like page 3. Go one more, go on up, page 4, right here. As I want you all to see, maybe I went a little bit too far. This is your revenue side. Go down, Jeremy, go down to the next page, and just so I can point it. No, I'm sorry, back up. I'm giving you the wrong direction, man. Up one more. Right here. State funding, just a little bit more. Hold on. SEEP program. We had the current year budget was right here. We had budgeted $10,391,000 right here in this area. Just so you all know, guys, we got notification today based on current numbers. Now this is going to change. We got notification that we're actually going to receive almost $900,000. So just know that right now, that's not finalized, that's not a final forecast, but just know that if that does happen, then that's about an additional $550,000 that will be in your budget. What I have told Angie, and of course, we have always kept a contingency of about $1.6 million. Jeremy, if you go down to like page, you're going to have to go down to like page 12 or something like that. Keep going and I'll tell you when to stop. Oh, right there. If you will look at contingency, which is the third line up from the bottom, it was 1.6 million last year. Right here on this number, Jeremy, notice we had it at 1.279. What I've instructed her to do is if that actually does come to pass, then probably 80% of that money will go into contingency. If it does, it's going to put us back to our $1.6 million contingency. We're not going to just go out and spend it.
It'll put us above it.
It'll put us above it. we do need to buy a transportation vehicle if we get this money, and there's some projects out there that we want to do. But overall, we'll be able to keep a contingency of about 1.6 million. So good news from a budget standpoint. I feel really good about where our budget's at. We've got the projected rollover to be somewhere around $1.6 million. We think that's conservative. So, I mean, from a budget standpoint, we stand to be in very good shape, which is going to allow us to do some things like the West Urban parking lot and some of those additional things that we want to do, like the steps from the ATC down to the high school parking lot. We can do those as maintenance projects and pay for them with cash and do them and get them taken care of. So we'll be good stewards of what we're given, but that's another reason why I think we just tell everybody right now, we take a tax increase off the table for July. There's no need at this point in time to do that. So I feel really good about the budget. I'm asking y'all to go ahead and approve that budget. The federal funding, we're still getting several items on federal funding and state funding, but Angie's getting closer and closer to having a set budget. And remember, in September, you will approve the working budget at that time. This is called the tentative budget, and I would ask for your approval. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Do we have a motion to accept the FYI 22 draft budget?
Make a motion.
Tammy Hardy makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Shayla Samples makes a second. I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed? Shayla Samples and Brian Covey are ayes. Motion carries. Down to our consent items.
And thank you all for those. Consent's really quick. There's really not any of those that I feel like we need to pull out. We've got the payment of bills, as we always do. We've got our emergency substitutes. We have to do that every year. We've got several memorandums of understanding and agreement with several different agencies, and those are yearly items. You've got the KDC membership. You've got the technology plan, which is a yearly item. Except the fuel bid, we had one fuel bid, and that's with Hardy Oil. And so I'm asking you to give approval for accepting that. We've got our food service requirements. And our third and final KETS offer is part of this, which is what creates Jeremy's budget. And unless there's one of those you all want to pull out, this is truly what consent is. You all can give one motion to approve all those.
Okay, do you want to pull any of the consent items out, or do you want to vote on it as a whole?
Vote as a whole.
Vote on it as a whole? Okay. So I'd like to call for a motion to approve the consent action items.
I'll make a motion.
Carrie Smallwood and Carrie Smallwood makes a motion. Brian Covey seconds the motion. I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Shayla Samples is aye. Brian Covey is aye. Motion carries. And I guess that we are all the way down to the superintendent's report.
I think that's it. I had it on mute.
That's all right. We saw your hand, Sheila. Thank you. You have your notification of personnel actions there for this month. KSBA wrap up. I think we had a good KSBA conference. I think there's a lot of good learning that took place. Was really impressed with Sunday morning's presentation by Principal L, and really had a good time of learning and even fellowship among the board team. So I'm really appreciative of that. A couple of dates I want to give you all coming up on facility dedication ceremonies. It's finally going to happen that we're going to dedicate the Estill Springs Elementary renovation, and that is going to be Thursday, June the 3rd. And invitations and everything is going out through our community ed office and through the school itself. It's from 1 to 3 p.m. and and we're going to invite the public to come out and view Estill Springs Elementary. You've not had the opportunity to do that. It's a fantastic, brand-new facility, and we're proud of that facility. Also, the very next day, on Friday, June the 4th, we're going to dedicate our bus garage. And we'll have a ceremony, and we'll have refreshments and snacks just like at Estill Springs from 1 to 3 o'clock. Hopefully, we're going to get a hold of Ethan and Joe and have the radio there and do some spots. So you're going to be able to come up and park and go through the bus garage if you want to. Or if you don't want to stop, you can go up and ride around the parking lot and drive right through one of the bus bays and go right off the hill if that's what you choose to do. But we're going to give everybody an opportunity to see those two facilities. Estill Springs' total price tag was about $5.5 million of taxpayer money. So that was a great project to kick off our construction projects. And the bus garage and the land purchase was right at $3 million. So that was $8 million, over $8 million of taxpayer money. Come out and look at what your tax dollars was able to pay for. And it's been that's been a great thing. And
Since
other
you're
than
talking
those,
about dates, can you go ahead and tell them about the dedication of the ATC?
yeah, the dedication of the ATC, just in case, and I think we've done this, but we've also sent out, a lot of people have already got saved the dates in terms of that, but it's July the 23rd. I believe it is scheduled for 2:30, and that's based on the fact that the Careertech Conference is over at noon. That allows KDE and any teachers that are attending that to get back for that dedication. We've got formal invitations going out to several individuals here within the next week, but we want our community. This has been something that our community has talked about for over 30 years. It's a $15 million facility. It is absolutely fantastic. It's going to be an unreal facility. The board toured it tonight. They're about 90% complete in Area B. We're probably 70 to 75% complete in Area A. We know the Pedway's got a little bit, especially the Pedway Tower's got a little bit of work to do. It's about 50% complete, but beautiful facility. That's on July the 23rd at 2:30. And then hopefully here in June, we'll award our high school project. And guys, believe it or not, for a school district that only had $1 million when I arrived, we've done $35 million worth of construction by the end of the next 2 years. That is absolutely unheard of and fantastic. It took leadership, it took our staff, it took our board team, and as a superintendent and a board team, we've had different board members over time, but we've all had that vision to move forward with our district. Our facilities will be second to none by the time we're through. And we're not through. We've got some other things to do, the West Irvin parking lot and some different little things like that. So we're not through. We've got a lot of things to take care of. A lot of people don't realize there's been almost $500,000 worth of work done on this central office. This facility is now good for the next 20 years as well. So we've done a lot with a little. And we couldn't have done it without the taxpayers and the citizens of Estill County. You've made an investment on the lives of children for years to come.
And adults.
And adults as well. And I'm thankful for it. I know the board's thankful for it. And we had a lot of doubters and naysayers at one time. I mean, they didn't understand the nickel tax, didn't know what it's all about. I think right now, anybody knows what it's about and seen what it's done. To go from $1 million to $35 million worth of construction, listen, they ain't nobody can fuss about that. If you fuss about that, then you need to get happy. Come out and have a cupcake and drink the 3rd and the 4th, and we'll make you happy. Thank you all for everything. That's it for me.
So board member forum, does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss? I have one thing, Mr. Saylor, that I'd like to bring up. You and I had a really productive meeting with Representative Bill Wesley
Yes.
a few days ago, and He is very supportive of the projects and things that are going on in our district, and we were pleased to meet with him and share some of the exciting things going on in our district.
And it was a productive meeting, and I know that this old politics gets in the way sometimes, but you know what we all have to do? We all have to be able to voice our opinion, and when we come out the other side, we're friends. We've got one purpose here, and that's to educate our kids in Estill County, be good to our staff members in Estill County, and try to make this community a better place. I believe that's what he wants to do. I know it's what we want to do. So we're moving forward as one team to try to do what's best for Estill County. And I appreciate the meeting and look forward to continuing to work with Representative Wesley and Senator Brandon Storm as well, who's been a big supporter, and we expect both of them to be at the ATC groundbreaking.
And just one other comment, at the recent conference in Louisville, Mr. Saylor and I were able to speak with Dr. Orr from Powell County, and he's very excited about the ATC and looks forward to a long partnership with us on that project, and look forward to sending some Powell County students here, and we look forward to that relationship that we have.
And to add to that, I was able to speak with Diane Meadows, who's one of his board members, and a couple other his board members that was present at the time. They're really excited about the facility. They said they will be here on the 23rd with bells on, and they're excited about their kids having this opportunity. And so everybody know, without Powell County, this didn't happen, because we were turned down the first time that we presented in terms of the workforce, the Work Ready Skills Initiative Grant Committee. We were turned down the first time because we did not have a partner. And when I approached at the time Superintendent Tate and his board, I went over, made a presentation. They listened to that presentation. They realized what it could do for their students as well. Dr. Orr has picked up where that left off, and he's been a great supporter, been in every meeting. He and I talk at least once every week to 2 weeks about the facility, and Mr. Hall has of course been here. He's been to their board meetings as well. They are super excited about getting kids over here as well. So I do appreciate Powell County, our partnership with them. 7:30 on Friday night, we don't like them. But at 9:30 on Friday night when the game's over, we're going to come out of there, shake hands, hug each other, and we're going to go about our business and of educating kids. So I appreciate them very much.
We do too. And just one other comment before we get to public comments is, I would just like to ask everyone in the community to just continue to remember our children, our staff, and everyone in the school district and the community in their prayers. You know, every day you think what else could happen, but it sure seems like something else happens. And so if we could just lift each other up, and I think one of the promises that a lot of people made to themselves and to each other this past week was to tell everyone that you love them and that you appreciate them. So we love you, we appreciate you, we appreciate everyone for sticking with us. And do you have anything else, Mr. Saylor?
I have a comment, if that's okay.
Yeah.
For the high school, there's a lot of exciting events coming up as we're wrapping up with the school year, and I just wanted to not let anybody that is helping and getting these events going be overlooked, because there's parents out there working on prom stuff right now as we're sitting here in the air conditioner. They're out there burning up. And last night I know Charlotte Sutter and Alan and there's a few parents out there helping pressure wash the tennis court, and they're working really hard out there to provide an opportunity for us, and I don't want to let that be overlooked. Or as a senior myself, I just want to say thank you for you all, or to you all, for allowing us to have a prom and trying to get us back to normal and allowing us to have these things on behalf of our class. I know that last year's class lost a lot, so it means a lot to us, and we're very thankful, and I'm tickled to death to have the opportunity to get the normal events of a senior year. And a big thank you to all the parents and the staff and administration for helping us get all that together. So super excited to see the events and graduation and prom Saturday. Cannot believe that it's already the end of the school year. And tomorrow's my last day of school. That's crazy too. It's absolutely unreal. But just a big thank you to everybody that's made all this possible. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart.
We're glad to have you back after a COVID
I'm glad to
break.
be back. Absolutely. I really appreciate
You
the
get 2 more
opportunity.
board meetings perhaps before you're through next year.
What an
Well, we
honor.
do have prom on Saturday, the
Yes.
22nd. I think there's some instructions and guidelines and things that have been listed on social media. And then there's also some information there for graduation for our seniors, which will be May 28th on
Yes, ma'am.
Friday, unless it rains.
And it's Saturday, the
or-
29th.
And then it's
Yeah.
Saturday, the 29th. So just, we wish you all the best to all of our seniors, and we hope you dance the night away
Super excited. Thank you all so much. I really
on
appreciate it.
Saturday night. So thank you.
I'll tell you a big thing today. We had 120 students today vaccinated for COVID-19, which is huge. I think moving forward, in order for us to get back to a more normal school year, I hope that parents will look at the data very closely and make the decision to have their children vaccinated, because I think it's very important for us to be able to have a normal school year this coming year. I think if enough students are vaccinated, I think you'll see the mask mandate go away next August, which would be a godsend. It's hard wearing that mask all the time. It's been beneficial, and I'm a believer that wearing masks has saved a lot of lives. But I also know that if we can get back to a more normal without having to do that, I think it will be very exciting for everyone. So I encourage parents, as you continue to look at data, I encourage you to try to get your children vaccinated. I think it will be very important to us having as normal a school year as possible. As a
Sounds good.
big clinic today is good.
Yep.
Good start.
So do we have any public comments?
Yes, this is from Tim Rose, and he asked, what policies are in effect at the middle and high schools to address bullying? Often teachers and administrators don't have time to notice bullying in some cases. Are there assemblies, bullying hotlines, and awareness efforts to deal with this issue?
Simplest answer to that would be that Tim could contact either the middle school or high school administrative staff. They could provide them with the policies in terms that address bullying. Matter of fact, it's in the student handbook. We also have the stop tip line and the bullying tip line that any student or parent can report any bullying incident whenever there is a situation that they feel like that the administration needs to check into. Whenever they do that, I receive a text or an email, just like the principal does, the Safe Schools director does. We also have the Stop It tip line, which is the one right beside it. So there's 2 different tip lines that they can report to as of right now. And are there assemblies? Yes. Are there programs? Yes. Are teachers and administrators trained in recognizing bullying? Yes. It doesn't mean, though, that we recognize every single event. So that's why it's important that everybody knows where you can go to report any type of bullying or harassment issue. It's right on our website. It's easy to find.
Okay, are there any other public comments? Okay, without further ado, I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting. Okay, so Tammy Hardy makes a motion and
Sheila seconds.
Sheila Sample seconds, and I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed?
And that's 4-0 because Brian had to leave the meeting.
Meeting
Rebecca.
adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
Miss
you.
Sheila.
You all. For being so
Thanks. Cut her off.
That's my bad. Sorry. That's my bad. Sorry.